Hi everyone, I hope you're all doing well. I apologize in advance for this super awkward video, but I chose to do my week 3 topic on Martin and Doka's gender stereotypes around grief. There are many different ways in which we express, experience, and adapt to grief, which is something that I learned and was emphasized in Terry Martin and Kenneth Doka's work on grief in the 90s. In the 90s, they published a book in which they emphasized masculine and feminine grief, but they have since renamed these grieving styles to instrumental and intuitive grief, as no one grieving style is guaranteed, and a female isn't guaranteed to grieve a certain way, and a male isn't guaranteed to grieve a certain way. So after getting pushback, they really renamed these. So intuitive grieving is the style in which individuals experience and express grief in an effective way. They typically develop more emotional symptoms such as crying and other outward displays of sadness, and they cope by sharing their feelings. They are more likely to seek out or accept support within a community, and this is what is seen as the stereotypically female way of grieving, because women are thought to be more expressive and emotional when they grieve. The second style of grieving is instrumental grieving. With this style, grief is expressed more through redirecting their energy to activities and problem solving, and they see the loss as more of just a challenge to overcome. They prefer distractions, and they're able to kind of mentally separate from the loss. This is seen as the stereotypically masculine way of grieving. The stereotypes that we have in terms of grieving styles are due to the way that males and females are socialized, being that men are supposed to be tough and they're not supposed to show emotions, and women are expected to be more emotional, not only in these same grieving situations but also really just in general. Martin and Doka see these styles of grievings as two ends on a continuum. So they really see grieving styles as part of a spectrum. So it can be different and vary greatly for people. People can fall in the middle and experience intuitive grieving and instrumental grieving. I believe the way that we grieve can also be different based on the type of loss. And to not get too personal, but I would say that anytime I've dealt with a death, I've been more of an intuitive griever, but when I dealt with the loss of everything that I lost because of the pandemic, I was more of an instrumental griever, and I kind of had to find things to distract me from losing my job, school, and my internship. And I was kind of able to mentally separate from all of that for a little bit. So again, it can be different based on the type of loss that you're experiencing. And different styles can be effective for different people. The model that Terry Martin and Kenneth Doka lay out isn't a one-size-fits-all. So like I said, people can fall anywhere on the spectrum. I think it's worth noting, though, that the grieving style might be influenced based on a negative bias that our society has towards the instrumental way of grieving, which is the less expressive style. We place a value in outwardly expressing our grief and sadness rather than bottling it up and mentally separating. So that may impact how people grieve certain losses. So just to sum it up, Martin and Doka laid out different gender stereotypes around grief, which are now known as intuitive grieving, which is the more emotional type griever, and instrumental grieving, which is when people kind of need to distract themselves from the loss and when they can mentally separate from the loss.